Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Jacobs, and you're listening to Juiced Sports Radio. And the Baylor Bears are perfect. What a season for Baylor athletics. Led by Robert Griffin III, the Baylor football team made it to the Alamo Bowl, became completely relevant. RG3 wins the Heisman. Then the Baylor basketball team makes it to the Elite Eight. And to cap off a tremendous season, the Baylor Lady Bears go 40-0, defeating Notre Dame twice, including in the national championship 80-61, to become just the 7th team in women's college basketball history to complete a perfect season. It is a remarkable run for the Baylor Lady Bears, who become the first team in college basketball history, men or women, to go 40-0. And look, I understand that women's basketball seems to have undefeated teams almost yearly, and that UConn, with their 90-game winning streak just a few seasons ago, sort of took the aura out of winning, say, 40 games in a row, which is what Baylor's at right now. But appreciate 40 wins in a season for what it is, because it's amazing. I understand that women's basketball is much different from men's in that the dearth of talent for the mid-majors and smaller teams is a bigger gap than it is in men's college basketball. But Baylor had to beat the best 4 teams in women's basketball. They beat every Final Four team this year, whether it was in the regular season, postseason, or both. And they deserve to be crowned the 2012 college basketball champions of the women's field. We've seen Texas go 34-0 in 1986. In 1995, UConn, led by Rebecca Lobo, went 35-0. In 1998, Tennessee went 39-0, led by Shamika Holsclaw. UConn in 2002, 39-0. That was a Sue Bird team. 2009, UConn 39-0. 2010, UConn 39-0. And 2012, Baylor 40-0. I don't care what the talent level of the other teams is, or the fact that Brittney Griner is an animal that nobody else in women's college basketball can come close to matching. But it is what it is, and what it is perfection. In 2005, Baylor won their other national championship, but they had to beat 3 number 1 seeds to do it. This year they were the favorite from the get-go, and from wire to wire they held number 1, and they won it all by 19, going away from a game Notre Dame team that had the lead down to 6 at halftime, but really never truly threatened, in a similar way that Kentucky dominated Kansas yesterday. I've been watching women's college basketball for a long time, and I'm familiar with many of the names, and Brittney Griner is she's just different. And yeah, she takes a lot of flack because she might look a little like a man, and her voice is very deep, but wow, can she play. And you can see in the same way that when Anthony Davis is manning the paint for Kentucky, players don't want to shoot. They don't want to even go near the basket. She is an intimidator. I believe that she had at least a hand in 10 deflections tonight, including 5 blocks. She's a beast. And her height obviously is a huge advantage in a game where there's not that many 6'8" women playing basketball. So obviously she has a built-in advantage. But Baylor, and Griner in particular, had a lot of pressure to win it all this year after bowing out in the Elite Eight last season and losing in the Final Four the year before. And look, Kim Mulkey, what a job she's done at that school. Kim Mulkey took over Baylor's program, which hadn't made the NCAA tournament since it began in 1982. She took over in the year 2000. They've made the NCAA tournament every year with the exception of 1. You can now add 3 Final Fours to that list, 2 national championships. She is an elite company with Gino Auriemma, Pat Summitt, and Vanderveer. What a great class to be a part of. Congratulations to Baylor. You know, it is tough to run the gauntlet and go undefeated. 40 games is a lot of games to give your best, to not get flustered, to not give in. When you have a target on your back game in and game out, it is not always easy to put forth your best performance. Sometimes you can overlook the opponent and they'll beat you, but Baylor didn't do that. They beat everybody this year. And one final note on this accomplishment, the big difference in these 2 tournaments when you look at the men and the women is that Kentucky won with a team of all freshmen. Baylor won with a veteran-laden team. Griner is a junior. And the reason that you have these teams that stay in place and that there's so many more dynasties in women's college basketball than men's, despite the big amount of talent that the best programs are able to get, is that people stay in school. These ladies can't just go directly to the WNBA and a big payday because a lot of the players in the WNBA don't make that much money. So you have these girls who stay in school, usually all 4 seasons, and these teams develop unbelievable camaraderie and chemistry, and it really bests that of the men's game. And that's not to say that the men's game is bad, because it's obviously different circumstances. When you can go to the NBA as a freshman player and make $12 million, heck, I'd do it too. Brittney Griner is going to come back for her senior year. Baylor's going to be favored again, and they'll probably win it again. And that's why women's basketball has dynasties, and you don't see it in the men's game. And that's why the last team to win a men's basketball championship with an undefeated record was Indiana in 1976. They won 32 games. Baylor won 40. What do you make of the Baylor Bears and their perfect season? Is Brittney Griner the greatest women's basketball player in history? My name is Scott Jacobs. You've been listening to Juiced Sports Radio. Baylor is perfect. Brittney Griner brings it home to Waco. Good night, everybody.